They say justice is blind. But that day, in a packed Chicago courtroom, justice was laughing. A homeless black man named Elijah Cross walked in holding nothing but a tattered folder and a quiet voice. No lawyer, no suit, no shoes without holes. Just a lawsuit against one of the most powerful real estate empires in the city. People smirked. Some didn't bother hiding their laughter. And Judge Ronald Whitmore? He chuckled so loud the stenographer paused typing. "Mr. Cross," he said, half smiling, "you're suing Westward Holdings? With what legal background?" Elijah didn't blink. "With the truth, Your Honor." The courtroom erupted in chuckles again. They didn't know Elijah had been waiting 10 years for this moment. Once, he was one of the most respected self-taught architects in the South End. He designed homes for real people, places where black families could build something generational. He built with his hands, his heart, and blueprints he drafted from scratch. But 10 winters ago, pneumonia knocked him off his feet. He woke up in a hospital hooked to machines. And when he was discharged, he came home to nothing but rubble. His apartment complex gone. Bulldozed without notice. No warning, no hearing, just gone. The city claimed it was unsafe, said it was authorized, claimed permits had been issued. But Elijah knew better. He didn't sign off on anything. He never sold his rights. And for 10 years, while sleeping under overpasses and dodging city sweeps, he collected receipts. Blueprints he had kept in a storage unit he barely afforded. Construction timelines that didn't line up. Signatures that didn't match. Emails he got printed by pretending to be a student at the local library. Everything fit too perfectly, which meant someone was hiding a mess and betting he wouldn't live long enough to tell the story. So when he stood in that courtroom, shaking but standing, and handed over his folder, people expected nonsense. But what he handed Judge Whitmore made the man go silent. The judge leaned forward, his brows furrowed. The laughter died down, because at the bottom of the file was a permit, a signed demolition order, and the authorizing signature, David Whitmore, the judge's own son. That moment was like a switch flipped. The smirk vanished. The air thickened. You could hear the tension like thunder before a storm. And Elijah, he just stood there, still calm. The judge mumbled something about needing a recess and left the bench mid-session. Something courtroom records show he'd never done in 23 years on the bench. But it was already too late, because someone in the back had been recording the entire hearing on their phone. A young law student. She posted it to TikTok that afternoon. Homeless black man exposes judge's son in court, live. Within hours, it had 1 million views. By sunset, #JusticeForElijah was trending across platforms. By morning, Judge Whitmore's office was under review. And Westward Holdings? Hit with a subpoena for fraudulent permits, land theft, and illegal demolitions. Suddenly, Elijah wasn't just some man the system forgot. He was a witness, a whistleblower, a threat. That same day, a young attorney named Kendra Adebayo volunteered to represent him pro bono. She'd seen the video. She knew what was at stake. She told the court, "This isn't just about one man losing a home. This is about a system betting that poor black men don't survive long enough to fight back." And she was right. City officials scrambled. Reporters dug up dirt on Westward's shady zoning approvals. Turns out, the same neighborhoods Elijah once helped build were now billion-dollar redevelopment zones, funded by shell companies linked to Judge Whitmore's friends. But just when things seemed like justice was catching up, Elijah received a letter. No return address, no message, just a single photo inside. The image showed Elijah, standing near the construction site of his old building, weeks before it was demolished. He didn't remember the picture being taken. He didn't even know someone had been watching him. But scrawled across the bottom of the photo, in thick red ink, were the words, "You built more than homes. You found what you weren't supposed to." Elijah sat still for a long time, holding that photo in both hands. It wasn't just about stolen land. It wasn't just fraud. It was something else. Something buried. Maybe under the homes he built. Maybe in the files he hadn't even realized he had. And somewhere out there, Someone was trying to make sure he stayed silent. For good. Because sometimes, when you dig for justice, you find something even darker. This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It was a warning. And Elijah had just become the key to something far bigger than anyone imagined. They thought silencing him would be easy. They were wrong. After Elijah Cross exposed the judge's son and brought $1 billion real estate empire under fire, everything started moving fast. Faster than anyone expected. Westward Holdings board scrambled to distance themselves. The media ran Elijah's story like wildfire. Local politicians who once ignored him started calling him a hero. But for Elijah, none of it mattered, because that letter haunted him. The photo, the message, the silent threat that said, "You built more than homes. You found what you weren't supposed to." He didn't understand it at first, until Kendra, his new lawyer, connected the dots. She pulled up original zoning blueprints Elijah had hand-drawn nearly 15 years ago. On the surface, they looked like typical residential layouts, nothing special. But layered beneath, in one of his older drafts, was a symbol. A strange marking he said he never remembered adding. That symbol matched a decades-old government designation for restricted land. Buried utility corridors. Classified infrastructure. Stuff civilians weren't supposed to know about, let alone build over. Elijah had unknowingly designed over it. And then, years later, when Westward Holdings accidentally demolished his home during his hospital stay, they didn't just steal his land. They were trying to cover something up. But here's the twist. That demolition, it didn't clear everything. A neighbor who worked maintenance saved a hard drive from the basement before the bulldozers came. He never turned it in. Said something about seeing too much and not wanting trouble. When he saw Elijah on the news, he reached out. And what Elijah and Kendra found on that drive changed everything. It wasn't just architectural files or old project reports. It was surveillance footage. Grainy, time-stamped video showing men in suits entering the building after hours, months before it was marked for demolition. Carrying boxes, leaving empty-handed. One face caught on camera was unmistakable. David Whitmore, the judge's son. The same one who signed the fake demolition order. The same one who hadn't been seen in public since Elijah's case went viral. But there was more. The footage also showed a secret basement level Elijah didn't even know existed in his building. Built after his original designs were submitted. No permits. No city approval. Just concrete and shadows. That's when Kendra said it out loud. What if they weren't after your home, Elijah? But what was underneath it? They brought the footage to the DA. Within 48 hours, the Department of Justice stepped in. FBI agents visited the construction site where Westward had rebuilt luxury condos over Elijah's old property. Work was halted. Excavation began. And what they uncovered wasn't just criminal. It was explosive. Tucked beneath the foundation was a sealed vault. Military-grade reinforced steel. No identifying labels. No entry logs. No one could say how long it had been there or what was inside. But one thing was clear. Westward Holdings had known about it. And so had the judge's son. That night, Kendra got a call. Unmarked number. Scrambled voice. It said, "You need to stop. He wasn't supposed to survive." The line went dead. Elijah was moved to protective housing. Kendra requested round-the-clock security. But the next morning, the FBI's evidence trailer parked at the site burned to the ground. Files gone. Cameras melted. And the vault? Someone tried to move it, but failed. Elijah watched the news, shaking. They were still coming, still trying to erase him, because if the truth about that vault ever got out, it wouldn't just ruin reputations. It would bring down names that sat in Washington. Names on buildings. Names on ballots. Names tied to secrets meant to stay buried. And Elijah, a man they thought would die in silence? He was now the only thread keeping that truth alive. But then, just before midnight, a knock at his safe house door. No security alert. No cameras triggered. Just a knock. Elijah stepped back. 3 soft taps. Then a voice. "I know what they hid, but I need to show you before they find me." And just like that, The door handle turned,